Before we get into today's episode, this one is brought to you by Flowdesk, the email marketing platform I use to run my own newsletter at Lion Creatives. If you've been putting off starting an email list or you're on a platform that just isn't working for you, Flowdesk is worth a look. The templates are beautiful, it's easy to use, and it's built for small business owners. Get 25% off your first year at flowdesk.com/c/Lion Creatives, but I'll make sure to drop the link in the show notes.
I'd say consistency is almost more important than like a nice brand.
Yes.
You can have an ugly logo and be really consistent with it and be far more successful than someone with a beautiful logo who uses it inconsistently.
Welcome to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast by Lion Creatives. I'm Svenja Lion, and in each episode, I sit down with local business owners and entrepreneurs to share their stories, how they got started, what keeps them going, and what makes their business stand out. My goal? To help more amazing businesses be seen, supported, and celebrated. So grab your coffee, because this might just get creative. Welcome back to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to pull back the curtain on branding, strategy, and what it really takes to build something that lasts. Today's guest is special because we are pretty much doing the same. But she is on the other side of the continent. Katie Dooley is the founder of Paper Lime Creative in Edmonton, Canada. And she's been at this for almost 10 years, you said?
Yeah.
And you run a team of 4, and you work with service-based businesses in that middle stage of growth, past startup, but ready to come into their own. Her focus is on brand strategy, plus print and graphic design. We don't overlap on deliverables, but we share the same conviction. Branding is a system, not a logo. And the consistency across every touch point is what actually moves the needle. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I loved our pre-call because, the little background story, but when we first got on the call, we started talking about paper right away, paper and pencils and print, and it's very exciting. So, but before we get into all of this, how did you start your business? How did Paper Lime start it?
Yeah, the business itself. So I went to university for graphic design. I always knew this was what I wanted to do, so I got really lucky in that regard. But yeah, Paper Lime started in 2017, kind of officially. I think we all dabbled on the side with design. And it's such a hard industry. I don't know if that's been your journey, Svenja, but I know that the universities and colleges here graduate far more students than there are job openings. And so it was just like this big slog for the first, probably 5 or 6 years after I graduated, entry-level positions, entry-level pay. And I just wasn't finding anything that felt like it fit. And so at one point I just figured I needed to make my own opportunity to do the work I wanted to do and work with the people that I wanted to work with. So that was sort of the initial incident, the initial move that got Paper Lime Creative started all those years ago.
Yeah, that's it's funny because I had a similar story. I always wanted to study graphic design, but my parents actually, they told me, hey, why don't you go into marketing because it's a little bit more, you might be able to do some graphic design in marketing. Yeah, wasn't able to do that. Marketing is completely different than graphic design. And so I did all my degrees and everything in marketing and actually supply chain management, which was a total weird decision that I made at that point. And I cannot, I'm not good in supply chain management, not at all. Marketing, however, I'm pretty good. But then later on, I said, no, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to get my degree in graphic design. So I did.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
So, and I don't know how your experience is, but when you study graphic design, you are not really taught branding. I mean, they talk about branding, obviously, but you don't really specifically learn all the details about branding, right? So what was the moment where you realized that branding was a lot bigger than just the logo?
I had a really good mentor, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years, probably 2 years in. It was before the pandemic. So, and she was a brand strategist, and that was kind of it, where I realized I was trying to piece together these logos, and I didn't, have any good ideas, and, wasn't producing the work I wanted to produce, but that's because I didn't have a strategy behind what I was trying to create.
Yeah.
And that's when all the pieces started to come together, realizing that I needed a process that worked for me, to create something that was strategic for the client. And then the answer, the design solution becomes really, really obvious once you have all those pieces in place.
Yeah. And I think, and that was big part, this similar story, but I had a mentor as well. And just to then see all the pieces fall into place, because when I just got started, I was on Fiverr. That was pretty bad. But I mean, that was good for a portfolio. You can work on lots and lots and lots of projects and, get lots of portfolio material. But on Fiverr, you don't really have the strategy. But with working with the mentor and learning more about branding in general and the importance of branding and how to do it, that was not only interesting, I really love figuring things out, and finding the background story and then adjusting everything. So,
Totally.
Yeah. And when you talk to most people, branding is something that everybody talks about on Instagram, everybody talks about LinkedIn, but most people think that branding is the logo. And what do you wish that people would understand before they just create a logo on ChatGPT or hire someone on Fiverr to just create a quick logo?
Yeah, I think that your brand, I always say it's every impression your business makes on everyone, which feels like so much, but it is so much, right? It's, do you have a dress code? Like when people show up to your place of work, how are you presenting yourself, or how are your employees presenting themselves? It's things like pricing. How do you price your product or your service? Because every one of those impressions will tell people whether your business is right for them or not. And that's kind of what I include branding. Under the umbrella of branding is if it helps someone decide if your business is for them or not, that's branding.
Yeah. So it's before, and I always think that, or say no, that before you can even create anything with the logo, the colors, the shape, is it an icon or just a type logo? What does it include? You need all that strategy beforehand. You as a business owner, you need to know who you want to talk to. You need to know what you want to do. And you need to understand that just having a logo is jumping like 10,000 steps ahead without really thinking about, everything underneath.
Yeah. Yes, or I would argue it's putting you behind because you're going to be set up with
that's what I mean.
You're going to, but people think they're done branding when they have their logo, but
yes,
you're going to pigeonhole yourself into something that won't actually work for you. Yeah,
exactly. You're missing out on that. That's what I meant with jumping.
The journey.
When we had our pre-call, you told a pretty cool story about the wedding photographer. Mm-hmm. So are you open to share it?
Yeah, absolutely.
With everyone?
That was, I love talking about this wedding photographer because it's such a good example of you are not your ideal client. And sometimes businesses do, right? Like I know I told you before we went live that I was at a networking call this morning and I met this lovely woman and she's a coach and she runs women's circles. So yeah, she probably tracks a lot of people that are very similar to herself, to these events. But this wedding photographer, I was his photography assistant for a wedding. And incredibly talented photographer, but he's a middle-aged man and he's doing wedding photography. And so if he builds a brand that he likes, and I always think of like, what does my dad like when I tell this story? So if you're listening, think of what your dad likes. And then I think of what a bride likes. And at the time I was assisting him, I was like in my early 20s. I wasn't even married yet. now I'm past, I'm a long time married now, what a bride likes and what she's looking for, those are two different things. So if he's building a brand that he likes, brides are going to go to his website and go, oh, this guy doesn't understand me at all, regardless of how talented he is and how beautiful his wedding photos are. If he's branding, he needs to think about what a 27-year-old woman is interested in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, agreed. And so what that means is that how can we explain that even further? So you need to know your target audience in order to come up with a strategy. Like, who do you want to serve? I mean, who is it? Have a real picture of that person that you want to serve. And then everything from colors, from fonts, from everything has to speak to that person.
Yes.
And yeah, if you just put, I don't know what he had on his website, but if you put cars and all that stuff on your website, it doesn't really work.
Well, and I love talking about color because, fonts can get a little bit nuanced. You and I have probably spent far too long studying fonts and scrolling through font websites. But color, everyone's seen a color wheel. Everyone as a kid painted, mixed, yellow and red to make orange and whatever. And so you can Google this, right? You can look up preferences for men and women. So you can go see what, men like for colors and women like for colors. And for the photographer and the bride, they will be different. And then you can look up colors that are generational. So what does someone in their 50s like versus someone in their 20s like? And you can start to see the differences by doing some quick Google searching. And then you get into color psychology and what colors make you feel. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but just, if you're listening, do those quick Google searches and see the differences of what this guy might like and then what this bride might like. And we have to pick, in this case, for the bride. That's what's strategic.
Yes. Yeah. And funny that you said with the fonts, because yes, definitely. Oh, and I showed my husband, I'm like, so what do you think about this font? Does it more represent, I don't even know what the client was. Do you think this is better or this is better? And he's like, there's no difference. I'm like, yes, there is. Don't you see?
There's a
it's like more
difference.
Round. Yeah. But another tip, maybe if you are, if you want to do your own research, Pinterest is perfect. Pinterest has so many different styles and mood boards and, create a mood board. See what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you work with the client, how does the branding session look like?
We start with an in-person session. We go through a whole branding questionnaire or a bunch of questions. I start a little bit about their business, who they are, what makes them different from their competitors, what they do. I like to hear that in their own words. Yes, I can, Google it, but you get a lot of great stuff from an excited business owner.
Yeah.
Then we start digging into the ideal customer. That is the bulk of the work. I specifically have built it in a way that starts really broad and then ends up very specific. So we can kind of ease into some of the maybe more difficult questions or questions that a client, one of my clients, might not feel is relevant. We talked about this on a couple days ago. It was like asking someone what their client's marital status is. If, they're an electrician, they might go, why on earth does it matter if my client's married or not? But it does. Yeah. So I ease them into some of those very specific questions. And then we do some fun like word association, brand characteristics. We do the 3 problems questions. It's kind of Simon Sinek's start with why. So we start, again, physical problem, emotional problem, philosophical problem, to really get the marketing juices flowing.
Yes. So, and then when you work on the branding, you're not just, so you're obviously developing a persona, then you're developing competitive analysis, I would say. But then also you're also developing strategic copy for the different materials, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
our sort of base level brand package includes brand story and taglines, and clients can always add on to that depending on their needs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty, yep, that's very
That's what
good.
you do.
Yeah, that's what we do. And what happens when a brand is inconsistent?
Oh, I mean, just bad stuff. It just makes, if you've invested in a brand with someone like us, you're wasting your money if you're just being inconsistent. If it's something you've DIY'd, every time something's inconsistent, you're breaking trust and making it harder for your customer to either find you or return to you. Yeah, I'd say consistency is almost more important than like a nice brand.
Yes.
You can have an ugly logo and be really consistent with it and be far more successful than someone with a beautiful logo who uses it inconsistently.
Yeah, and you had during our pre-call, you had an example of a flower shop. I think that's a very good example.
Yeah,
Of inconsistent branding.
yeah, I posted this on LinkedIn years ago if someone ever wants to go find the story. But yeah, in short, my husband works out of town and he ordered some flowers for me for our anniversary or my birthday. And they were supposed to get delivered to the house, but I was out, I don't know, networking or something. I wasn't supposed to be home when they were delivered. So he said, okay, you can go pick them up at this flower shop. And I said, awesome. And I actually knew where the flower shop was. Like it was in the neighborhood I grew up in. And I was driving down the street and I saw the pylon sign, the street sign that lists all the businesses, and the sign was green. And I, awesome, pulled into the strip mall. And then I couldn't find the flower store because their sign, their storefront sign was black.
Oh.
And so I was like looking for this green sign because that's what the street sign was. And I just, you know, not young anymore. We're trying to read the storefront signs. And I was like, well, I thought it was here, but I don't see green. And you're just, you're driving, watching traffic. And it took me longer to find than it should have.
Yeah. But that's the perfect example of inconsistent branding. And that happens if you are on social media and people see you on, let's say people see you on social. And I don't know, your social media feed is all green and yellow. And then everybody's interested and they want to learn more. And then they click on the link and then they go to the website and the website is pink and purple. You, as a viewer, you're like, oh my God, I think I'm at the wrong place. And that's not just with colors, it's with everything, with little elements, like the way your pictures look on your social feed, the way you style your pictures on your website, just in general, like the whole language of imagery, of fonts, of the way you talk on your website and the way you talk on social media. Everything has to match. And especially, and that's what I'm noticing a lot lately, is that when you are on LinkedIn, especially, everybody's an expert. So, and it's good. I mean, people need to, you need to connect with people and you want to be an expert. But then you click on the website and you're like, oh, I'm not so sure if this is really an expert, because this website looks like it was built in, I don't know, the 1800s. And what is this? There's way too much text. There's no call to action. There's images. And you know that the person is not that person that they have on their about page because you saw the other person on LinkedIn, but the images are not matching anymore because the image on the website is of a younger you than you're posting on LinkedIn. So everything has to match, everything, and that is your branding. And in a different episode, I talked about how you talk on social media is a direct reflection of your business. And then when you talk on social media in a way that you should probably not be talking, that's a reflection on your business as well.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we talked about the mismatched logos or the mismatched colors, and what actually happens, and I'm pretty sure that you can support this, but when you have all these different touch points with different styles, you become forgettable. You're not, people don't remember who you are anymore because they don't know what to remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that comes back to, I think we've all heard the stat that people need 7 touch points to remember your business.
Yeah.
I think it might even be more now, but if those 7 touch points are different, it's just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's not actually 7 touch points, because if it looks different every time, you're not building any recognition. You're just getting in their face once.
Yeah.
So it makes the, I'm sure we've both had clients that think branding doesn't work or isn't worth it, but you have to execute it properly, or you're just actually making more work for yourself.
Yeah. And what I heard a lot is that when you have, let's say, we create the branding guide, that business owners or the members, the employees of the businesses that then have to translate the branding into all these marketing materials like email and so on. And you create those branding guides, and they complain that they don't have the flexibility to make changes. And they're not happy about that. But what's your point of view? I have my point of view, but I want to hear yours first.
I think a well-executed brand does have enough flexibility. This sort of this lovely dichotomy we work in is flexibility and consistency. I think, you need some creativity. I think, I've done some brands where, you have 4 or 5 or 6 brand colors, and you can change the proportions of those depending on the season or the target audience or whatever, to, make something more appealing or seasonal or whatever. I also think people confuse branding and marketing and advertising. That's the big one. I think, people are like, oh, well, I want to, have red in my brand colors because what happens at Christmas time? Well, that's advertising, and it's going to be a very short amount of time. Or, I was doing a branding around Valentine's Day, and they had this big, sample brand I was looking at had a big Valentine's Day campaign on. Well, pink isn't in their brand colors, but it was Valentine's Day, and it's going to last for a week, maybe 2, and then we move on. That's advertising.
Yeah.
But just because Coca-Cola rolls up polar bears at Christmas time, I mean, I would say now they're a part of the brand.
Yeah.
But that is an advertising campaign that they do. They're not changing their logo or their logo colors just because of Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also that a branding guide is there for a reason. So you have this branding guide with these strict borders. Like, you can't place it on certain backgrounds. You have to have the white space and all these things that the branding guide talks about. But instead of looking at it as a restriction, you can look at it as making your world a lot easier. Because if you're not a designer, it's very hard to design something even though it sounds easy. And if you have these specific instructions on how to structure your flyer, how to structure the business card, how to structure the website, you can just plug it in, and it's a lot easier for you to actually execute without having to hire someone else. And so the branding guide itself is a lot more helpful to you because you don't need to guess. Okay,
Totally.
This is the font, this is the colors, this is the way it has to look. Maybe it doesn't look perfect in the end because you're not the designer who created the template, maybe. But once you have this final piece, you can still post it because it's still on brand. People will still recognize it.
I also talk about branding as a standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's something, because it's a creative one, people don't necessarily put that label on it. But man, while I was building my business, I worked at a bank, and man, they had standard operating procedures for everything.
Yeah.
Right. How do you deposit a check? How do you do a wire transfer? And it was all written out step by step by step. And you don't get to say, well, there's not enough flexibility to send this wire transfer. that's fraud. Right? So we go, oh, this is creative and a designer made it. So yeah. But if you just get into the mindset that it's an SOP,
Yeah.
yeah, just follow it like you would any of your other SOPs. We just get to have fun creating that SOP
Exactly.
for you. You don't have to, know
Yeah.
how to do it. That's why people hire fractional HR, because they don't know how to do it, but the fractional HR person writes the SOP on what to do when an employee has too many absences.
Yeah.
And you just follow it because you're not the expert.
Yeah. It's funny how we can follow all these other things, but when it comes to design, everybody has something to say. Little pet peeve of mine, but okay. Anyways, moving on to print. I love print. I see your posters in the background. They're so cool. I love New York City. I love the colors. I love everything. So talk to me a little bit about print. Is it dead?
No, I think it's coming back. I think specifically, though, it has to be really good print. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the gap most business owners have, is they go, oh, I printed, I don't know, a bunch of 50-cent pens and it didn't work. Well, yeah, because it wasn't good print.
Yeah.
I don't have one sitting next to me, and I literally thought on our pre-call that I better have one sitting next to me. My business card is a lime. It is round, and one side is the cross section of a lime.
Yes.
And it gets compliments and comments all the time of like, this is such a cool business card and it's so memorable. And like that's good print design, something that is memorable and people want to have. And there's so many ways to do it. But it costs money.
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit of know-how of just to even know what possibilities are out there. And I often tell people, like, you can do whatever you want as long as you have the money to do whatever you want. Like, you can do some very, very cool print stuff.
Yeah.
And you can also, I shouldn't make it sound like all print is incredibly expensive. There's some cool stuff you can do for cheap too. But yeah, I mean, you can print on wooden business cards. You can print on metal business cards. I have a client that is a metalworks company. Having metal business cards is not only cool, it's also strategic for him. Yeah, I've done wooden business cards for carpenters before. I've done all sorts of shapes. My father-in-law was in a band. It was like a 50s, 60s cover band.
Yeah.
And we made quite large round business cards that were records.
Oh, how cool. Yes.
Right. And everybody wanted them because, the people at his shows were older adults like he was. And they were like, this is such a cool business card. It looks like a record. So the cards would disappear. But it's thinking outside of the box. And having a good partner to sort of tell you so that these options even exist.
Yeah. And on our pre-call, now it's getting a little nerdy, but like just the heaviness of paper. If you have a business card that is a little bit heavier and has some texture to it, and maybe like you said with the lime printed on it with some texture on it, that's so different and so special that it will be remembered. And I have my business card is heavier cardstock, and every time I hand it out, people are like, "Oh, that feels good."
This is a story I didn't tell you, but you will appreciate. I did cards for a residential contractor.
Yeah.
So doing renovations in people's homes. And we printed his cards on, I want to say 24 or 36 point. So like, if you're listening, like coaster, like you go to the bar, you get a thick coaster for your drink, that kind of thickness. And the edges were painted bright orange. And then the card was white. It looked so good. And then, I don't know, I'd been out and about and I got a contractor's card and it was on the thinnest paper you've ever seen. Like less than like your Staples business card thickness.
Yeah.
And I went to a networking event and I gave a presentation. I stood up in front of the room and I said, who do you think does better work? And I squeezed both of the cards and the one crumpled and the other one didn't even bend because it was so thick.
Yeah.
And that's the subconscious piece of like, this man is in my home building stuff. and his card is so thick that it doesn't even bend. And then this guy's just like crumples in your hand.
Yeah.
Like that subconsciously tells someone something. And those cards weren't even that expensive. Just for your listeners, I think we did like 500 cards for $250, like 50 cents a card, to give that impression of, you know, strength and that it's a durability that's going to last.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't even think about that. They just, oh, okay, I'm just going to order a business card, whatever. But then, and I see that often, that when you have your business card and you have it in your pockets and you take it out, the color comes off. And it's like, it looks old. It looks like, oh my God, where did you have this business card? But it's subconsciously, that's a reflection of you and your business. Because if your business card looks shabby, you know, how does your business look like? And it's not just the business card. It's spelling errors in your emails. Well. Let's pull that back, because now with AI, maybe you have to have some spelling errors to make sure that it's human.
I was going to say, we are all human, but there are some things that, you know, that have a little bit more permanence. I literally had a spelling error in my email yesterday. But things like business cards that you print, or like your website, while it's easy to change your website, we're not necessarily checking our websites every day to make sure content is correct. So things that have a little more permanence, I think, spend a little bit of time thinking about it. So you're not changing it. So you don't go, oh, my name is spelled wrong on my business card, or it's on a crappy piece of paper and the ink is rubbing off. Because that's what will cost you money in rework. Instead of, I mean, even my round cards, I think I spent $250 for 1,000 round cards. So very reasonably priced.
Did you work with the printer, or did you go to Moo?
I worked with a printer. I have a lot of printers locally that do nice stuff for me. And just for your listeners, 500 cards and 1,000 cards were about the same price, because the setup fee is so high. So because I knew they were beautiful cards that were well designed, I knew they were good conceptually, I could not even invest, because the amount was the same, but commit to 1,000 cards, knowing that I'm not going to be sick of them. My email, my website, my phone number has been the same for almost a decade now. So as long as everything was spelled correctly, I could get cards, really great cards for 25 cents that get compliments every time I hand them out. So that's where, you know, all the stuff we've been saying is like, if you do it right, you'll actually save money in the long run.
Yeah. I had someone on the podcast last year, and she's also into print. She's also doing the same that we do. And she has these cool mailings that she's sending out. And one of the campaign was something with a hook or something, but the mailing that went out was an actual fish, and it was pretty cool. It looked really nice, and she got lots of comments and compliments on that printing campaign. And just to see something that you design on the computer and then you print it, and then it comes in the mail, and it's just beautiful. But I think we can talk about that for hours, but oh well. So if someone is listening and they're looking at their business card and they're thinking, maybe I have to upgrade, what would be a good place to go?
Oh, are you asking for all my handles? or are you asking for resources?
If you would like to have a business card designed, of course you can call Katie. But if you would like to get the actual print of the business card.
So you mentioned Moo. I believe they're based in the UK. They have some beautiful finishes for reasonable. And did you check out Jukebox Print?
Not yet, but I have to.
Oh, so Jukebox Print is a Canadian company, I believe, out of British Columbia. And they are the ones that can do things like wood or cork, or like they can do some pretty fancy finishes at a Jukebox Print. And then wherever you are, you're going to have a local printer. If you're in I'll say in a bigger center, we'll have a local printer. And I actually love working with the local guys. It's really neat to see what they can do in-house. And at least where I am, all of the printers in Edmonton here are really collaborative. So I can like ask one printer for something and they'll say, we don't do it, but go call, this printer, and they do it. So fortunately or unfortunately, so often the large print shops that are still doing offset printing, so these are the big metal plates, they're more expensive because they have more overhead, but they have more capabilities, and they're also willing to get really creative with you. So I even just sent one to print. I have to pay the deposit today for it, actually. And I wanted really cool paper, and they were the only printer in the city that would like go find that paper for me. And then I work from a home office. They brought the swatch book of the paper to my house. It was very kind of them. So, and of course I'm like, ooh, paper samples. So yeah, you just got to find a good printer in your city locally as well that will just get a little bit nerdy with your business.
Yeah, but it's I mean, in that case, like if you're a business owner, not necessarily in design, Moo or Jukebox, that's a good place to start. But if you really want to go more creative, I think it's good to work with the designer, because the designer typically has the connections to the local printers, and then the designer can come up with cool ideas.
Yeah, printers can also work backwards too, where they will say, yeah, we can print on this paper, but you need to go get a file from a designer. So
yeah.
It's a nice symbiotic relationship that we have.
Yes. And speaking of networking and collaboration, and because we are, and we talked about this on the pre-call, because we are pretty much doing the same thing, but not like you offered the printing, and other things. And I think we can really work well together, even if at some cases our services overlap. But what I noticed is that I have a certain style in design, and you have a completely different style in design. And so by being able to offer multiple styles, you can offer a lot more services to your clients. So I think especially designers should work more together than being competitors.
Absolutely. And I think there's also a piece of like just learning from each other. Design, especially like post school, I don't know if you found this, a lot of it is just like osmosis and like taking in other designers' work. And there's designers out there that do things that like I would never even touch, because they're just, but like what a great person to learn how to do that style from, or whatever. It's just to like,
there's
or if it is out of reach, then you have someone to refer to. But
yes,
if you want to learn something new, absolutely, is figure out what someone else is doing right.
Yeah, I love these tutorials on LinkedIn about like these little Photoshop tricks. And even though I'm considering myself pretty good in Illustrator and Photoshop, but then I see those tips and tricks, I'm like, oh, that is so cool. I've been doing this like totally backwards.
I was talking to my designer, Emma, and I don't know if you find this one yet, but like I've been using the Adobe Creative Suite for a long time, but with the Creative Cloud, they just like update stuff. And sometimes I don't even realize what's updated. I do it the way I've done it. We do it the way we've always done it, which is so dangerous in business. And my designer, Emma, was like, oh yeah, you just use the pattern tool. And I was like, the pattern tool? What? And she showed me how to use it. I was like, I've literally wasted my whole life. And she's like, Katie, it's a fairly new update. I was like, no, I've wasted my whole life.
Yeah.
She's like, it came out like a couple of years ago. You're fine. I was like, no, I've been like handcrafting patterns.
Yeah.
And now there's, so great to have people to tell you you're doing it wrong.
But it's not just that. Sometimes they change, I don't know, they switch things around in Adobe. And it's just, then you're like, where did that little thingy go? Like, I don't even know what the name is, but the thing that I always used, it's hidden somewhere now, somewhere in, I don't know, in those three little dots, Okay, this is getting too nerdy. Yeah.
Hopefully there's some aspiring designers listening to this and
Yeah, exactly. They think, oh
enjoying
my God,
this
who are these people?
conversation.
So the referring to each other. So I think, like, if someone comes to me, and I'm so happy that that I met you, because if someone comes to me and they just, they want to have a business card, they want to have something, maybe a mailing campaign that actually goes out in print, I would totally send them your way,
Thank you.
because that's what you focus on, And
Yeah.
so
Sorry, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
I was just saying we don't do websites.
Yeah, see?
So
yeah, WordPress. So, Ben, and if someone wants to get in contact with you, how can they reach you?
yeah, there's a few ways. Paperlime.ca is our website, and there's a contact form on there if you need. You can email me directly, katie@paperlime.ca. And then I'm most active on LinkedIn, so linkedin.com/in/Katie A. Dooley. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Paperlime, @Paperlime Creative.
Okay, wonderful. I will make sure to put all those into the show notes. And then because it's already been, 40 minutes, and we're at the end of the podcast. And I always ask the question, starting this podcast was one big leap for me. What's a leap for you?
Yeah, it's top of mind because this was my day yesterday, but last year I invested, and it felt like such a big financial investment, in a tent and tablecloth for Paperlime.
Oh.
So that I could start doing, I bought it for a golf tournament last year, and I was at a golf tournament yesterday. So it just felt like this big spend. It was a big spend. And like, am I going to use it? Is it going to pay for itself? And yes, I've never sort of in one go spent that much money on my business. So
Yeah.
and then to, talk about get something, being on like the client end of getting something manufactured and printed. It's like, there better not be a spelling mistake in this.
And then you look at it and you don't see it. And then someone else looks at it and they're like, this is misspelled.
Oh, I sent it like around to be like,
I
can
know.
you just read this and make sure it's spelled correctly? So yeah, being on like the client end is always interesting for me because sometimes we forget their emotional journey of like, oh, this is a lot of money and it better turn out. So
yeah. So, but that's
So
interesting.
recently.
So you have a whole tent and a tablecloth and you go to events, or was it just for the tournament?
I went, I've done 3 or 4 events with it now. And that was sort of one of the reasons I made the leap was I knew I would do more if I had the resources, right?
Yeah.
The reasons I haven't done that stuff before is because I didn't have a tent and a tablecloth to feel like I could present myself professionally or, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but it was almost 30 degrees Celsius here yesterday. That's warm. If I'm guessing, I'd say like 90s.
Yeah.
To do an all-day event like that. So it was a leap then, and then it sort of continually pushes me to like get out of my comfort zone and like be out in the community. So I'd say it was a good investment, but in the moment that I decided to do it, it was kind of scary.
Yeah. The comfort zone behind the nice screens. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that comfort
screens
zone.
and indoors and
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't mind being outdoors. I don't know if you saw my post the other day about my manifestation. I'm manifesting like one of those VW buses in yellow.
I want one of those too.
I know, right?
I want a yellow one too.
It's in yellow and it has a blue, navy blue surfboard on top. And then I want to go have a Nespresso coffee maker in there. And I'm going to take the dogs and then I'm going to go to the beach, find some way of internet. I have not figured that one out yet. But then I'm going to go to the beach and that's where I work.
I like that a lot.
That's my manifestation. For years.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, for years. It's getting better and better. Like the surfboard now, before it was teal and now it's like navy blue and shiny. Before it was just like rusty and, teal and used. Now it's not. Now it's shiny. And the coffee maker was added too. But yeah, no, the bus always stayed the same. So universe, deliver us a bus.
Yes. Matching buses.
Yeah.
We'll drive across the country and meet each other halfway.
Yeah. Oh my God. But your branding colors, they are, it's like that darker teal, greenish teal.
Lime green,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And then the lime, then the lighter green with it, right?
Yeah.
Or is it yellow?
I mean, it's very much toes the line between green and yellow. So
Yeah. Love that color combination. Awesome.
yeah, thank you.
All right. Wonderful. So that was so much fun. And if anybody is interested in or thinking about renewing their brand, getting a new branding, or maybe thinking about getting their branding up to date, you can give us a call. Either one of us can help you. And if you go to lioncreatives.com, you can have your own free brand outage scorecard. And that's going to tell you exactly where your business is standing right now and what you can do to improve it. So,
Amazing.
Yes. Thank you so much, Katie, for being here. And I will see everyone next time. Thanks for listening to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast by Lion Creatives. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and share it with someone who loves discovering local businesses and creative entrepreneurs. You can learn more about my work at lioncreatives.com or find me on Instagram, lion.creatives, and LinkedIn at Lion Creatives. Until next time, keep showing up, keep creating, and keep getting seen.